Learning to live an exalted life. Hi, I'm Reverend Andrew Bozeman, and this is On the Wings of Your Mind. And today we want to talk about learning to live an exalted life. Now, last week I talked about the benefits of the benefits of living an exalted life, if you choose. Learning to live an exalted life is the subject today. So what do I mean by living an exalted life? Well, to exalt is to raise high, to elevate, but with a little more power than just elevation. Exalting is an extra oomph to it. So how can your life be exalted to a level where you eliminate the things that pull at you and tear at your confidence to keep you in a state of uncertainty, anxiety, and stress? The first step of doing that is to realize that you have been trained. That's right. You have been trained or conditioned to be that way. You have been trained to be in a constant state of stress. Your brain has a function known as the reward-seeking function. So just like a puppy who gets a treat when he does something that his master wants him to do, so it is with you as a child growing up. You were rewarded when you did something that your parents wanted to do. Learning to live an exalted life. Hi, I'm Reverend Andrew Bozeman, and this is On the Wings of Your Mind. And today we want to talk about learning to live an exalted life. Now, last week I talked about the benefits of the benefits of living an exalted life, if you choose. Learning to live an exalted life is the subject today. So what do I mean by living an exalted life? Well, to exalt is to raise high, to elevate, but with a little more power than just elevation. Exalting is an extra oomph to it. So how can your life be exalted to a level where you eliminate the things that pull at you and tear at your confidence to keep you in a state of uncertainty, anxiety, and stress? The first step of doing that is to realize that you have been trained. That's right. You have been trained or conditioned to be that way. You have been trained to be in a constant state of stress. Your brain has a function known as the reward-seeking function. So just like a puppy who gets a treat when he does something that his master wants him to do, so it is with you as a child growing up. You were rewarded when you did something that your parents wanted you to do, or the older people, the adults around you, wanted to do in order to get their approval. Approval in this case was the treat that was the reward. And when you grew older, then the power figures that you counted on for approval or for that reward were your teachers at school. And at some point, as you began to expand your circle of activity, your friends became the arbitrators of behavioral rewards. And so it went on and on from there, that as you grew up, those who had that kind of influence over you were not only the adults around you or your friends or your social circles, the people at church, the people at work, your employers. The list goes on and on of people who had that kind of influence over you where you found yourself seeking their approval. Unconsciously, yes, but still seeking their approval. The way we dress, the way we talk, the way we walk, the way we behave in different situations. We conform, for the sake of approval, to the norms of our environment in order to be rewarded for being okay, for being acceptable, for being something that could be approved of. So the first step, the absolutely first step to living an exalted life is to realize and acknowledge that so much of your behavior has been heavily influenced by the reward-seeking part of your brain. The reward-seeking part of your brain. It has so much influence over you and you don't even know it. Please click on the thumbs up button, and if you haven't already done so, please choose to subscribe. You know, I'd love to hear from you, so if you would, please use the chat box on the right side of the screen or the comment section below the video. And also, I would love to get your support. So if you would, please please go to my website, bozemandevelopment.com, and click on the button that says, or the link that says, please donate. bozemandevelopment.com, please donate. Okay, so after you have acknowledged that your behavior is heavily influenced by your need to be accepted and to receive approval, the next step is to remind yourself that you are an individualized expression of infinite intelligence. You are a product, yes, you are a product of all the conditioning that you've received over the years since your childhood, but beneath all that, you are a spiritual being unto yourself. You are a spiritual being having a human experience. Yes, that is the higher level that we're dealing with. You are a spiritual being. So after you've seen that you've been conditioned to seek approval, then acknowledging that you are really a spiritual being having a human being experience, the next step is to living an exalted life, is to practice self-observation. Self-observation. What self-observation is taking a step outside of yourself and beginning to observe yourself and your behavior. That is, watch what you do, watch what you say, and why you do it. Okay? Observe your actions so that you can begin to detect where you are doing things in order to seek approval. You know what? This is a process of waking up, actually. So observe yourself. Step outside of yourself, observe your actions, observe your speech, the things you say, to detect when it is that you are doing it to seek approval, not because you want to do these things, but because you're doing it to seek approval. I mean, there are things you're going to find that you really want to do. There are things you're going to find that you really enjoy doing, but there are some things that you do merely to seek approval. And that's what you want to find. That's what you want to be able to pinpoint. Those things where you are acting to seek approval. You know, self-observation is sort of like flipping on the light in a dark room and seeing all the critters scurrying to get out of the light, to hide, because they don't like the light. So that's what's happening with you in self-observation. You are exposing those parts of yourself that have been hidden from you, in plain sight, of course, but they're hidden from you because they're being disguised as something that you want to do in order to seek approval. Okay, so one thing to realize is that when the reward-seeking function in your brain is on and influencing you, it is operating out of a sense of lack. It's always aware of and seeking something that you don't have, like money, or success, or a relationship, or other material things that you think are important. That's what's going on. It is operating from a sense of lack. And the problem with living under the influence of your reward-seeking brain is that it reduces your capacity for compassion. You are so busy trying to get that you don't see what's going on around you. So you've lost your capacity for compassion or for understanding, for generosity. It actually diminishes your humanity. So now that you've realized that you've been conditioned from birth to be a good pet, and through self-observation, you're beginning to be able to detect those moments when you are actually reward-seeking and not doing what you want. The next step is to release yourself from the mental ropes that are holding you back, from the mental ropes that are holding you into this prison of seeking approval. I'm reminded of the elephant that you've seen in circuses, you've seen in movies of circuses, you've seen photographs of it, of an elephant that is being restrained by a rope tied around its ankle and to a stake in the ground. A rope, a stake in the ground, tied to its ankle, holds it in place. Now imagine that. An elephant is the largest land-based mammal in the world. The largest. It can grow up to 14 tons. It can grow up to 4 meters high. What is that, 12 feet high? No, a little over 12 feet. Between 12 and 16 feet high, tall, at 14,000 pounds. Imagine that. All he has to do is flick his leg and the rope would be broken. Even females, even though they're smaller, they're half the size, they can still grow up to 7,500 pounds of muscle. A rope can't hold them. But what does hold them? Their belief that the rope can hold them. Their minds are actually the power that is holding them in place, because they have been conditioned from birth, from being a little weak elephant baby with a rope tied around them, that the rope is what's keeping them in place. And even though they grow up, the rope is still there, and they are conditioned to believe that the rope is strong enough to hold them in place. And that's what you're dealing with in your conditioning. From childhood, you have been conditioned to seek approval, and you are still seeking approval even as an adult. So, what mental ropes are restraining you? And isn't it time to untie those ropes, to cut them loose so that you can move on? All right? So the next step is to begin a practice that frees your mind. That's what's important. Free your mind. And some call it meditation, some call it mindfulness, some call it contemplation, whatever you call it. The purpose of it is to free your mind, to separate you and your mind from the stress-inducing elements in your life, to release it, to go into peace. The point is to give your mind a break. So how do you do that? Well, you sit quietly, concentrate on your breathing, counting your breaths. Or you can go to the ocean and watch the waves. Or you can pick out a spot on the wall and sit there and just stare at it. Or you can sit in a rocking chair and stare out the window. Or you can go into the garden and tend to the plants. Or you can get down on your knees and pray. However you do it, do something every day at the beginning of the day, before you go out into the world, to give your mind a break, to give your mind a bit of quiet and peace, to get away from the madness of the everyday lives we live. You know, it has a healing effect on your brain. It has a healing effect on your mind. And after a while, it even begins to open your mind to greater possibilities. Those moments of quiet can really begin to open your mind to what's really out there for you, not what you see being locked up in your prison of approval seeking. And so with that peace, you begin to ease that craving for the things you don't have, the things that you probably don't need. The healing comes because you begin to separate yourself from those destructive chattering of your monkey mind that is continually bombarding you with information that diminishes you, that criticizes you, that puts you down. You want to quiet that mind. So free yourself from it by stepping away. By stepping away. You know, as your mind becomes used to experiencing those quiet times, it will begin to expand. And as your mind expands within that quietness, it begins to discover that there's something else there. Hey, there's something else there. Something peaceful, something powerful, something deep, something protective. Your mind will begin to discover its connection to infinite intelligence. That's right. Infinite intelligence is there waiting for you. All you need is the quiet in order to find it. And when you're in that quiet, you begin to realize that there's something else, peace that passes understanding. It's there waiting. And you can discover it. And when you discover that peace, you also discover something extraordinary. You discover you. You discover yourself. So you begin to discover who and what you really are by doing this mind work, by doing this taking a break. And you begin, as you do that, you begin to see the scales of fear and the conditioning, the long-term conditioning of other people falling away from you. And you begin to see your true self, your true self. And as your true self is beginning to be revealed, you can begin to feel and even hear the urgings of infinite intelligence guiding you to express yourself as you were meant to express. Not as somebody expects you to express, but as you were meant to express. Not doing things that somebody else told you you should be. My father wanted me to be a doctor, and he was pushing me to be a doctor. He didn't realize that I was supposed to be a minister. Hey. So your true self will come out as you begin to enliven or energize that connection between you and infinite intelligence, who reveals to you who you really are, who you really are. And you know what happens? You find that as you begin to lose that hunger for those things that you don't have, those things that may not necessarily be important to you anymore, you find that if that craving no longer drives you, things will begin to come to you on their own. The things you were chasing after and grasping for and wishing for, those things begin to come to you on their own. It's a matter of allowing rather than seeking, allowing rather than seeking. Yeah. And you'll also find that those around you who demand that you be a certain way, their influence begins to fade away. And as their influence fades, sometimes they fade away as well, because they don't need to be there. And you may begin to find that there's a whole world out there that you were not aware of, that you were blind to. And it's so beautiful when you discover it. It's mind-boggling. So give your mind a break. Go into the quiet. Allow infinite intelligence to bring you what you need without you desperately searching and grasping and chasing after it in its elusiveness. And when you do that, when you allow that to happen because you are now connected to infinite intelligence, that's when you begin to understand the words of Matthew chapter 6, verses 31 through 33. Therefore, do not worry, saying, what shall we eat? Or what shall we wear? Or what shall we drink? For after all these things the Gentiles seek. For your heavenly Father knows you need all these things. But seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all those things shall be added to you. All those things shall be added to you. The next step is to practice gratitude. Gratitude is an acknowledgement of the gifts you receive and from whom you're receiving them. You know, they're coming from infinite intelligence. All of our gifts come from infinite intelligence because infinite intelligence is all there is. Yes, the good that comes to us, be thankful for. The bad that comes to us, also be thankful for. You know? I know that's hard to take, but look back at your life. Look back and see the things the incidents or situations that were bad. You know, in some of those incidents, it's more obvious than others, but in some of those bad things, what you got was a gift. A good thing came out of them. You got fired from a job, but when you got fired from that job, what happened? Somebody came along and offered you a better job. So letting go of that old job opened you up to this better opportunity. Seemingly bad brought a gift. It reminds me of the words of Hamlet in the William Shakespeare play, as he said, there's nothing either good or bad, but thinking makes it so. There's nothing even good or bad, but thinking makes it so. Hey, I find myself saying thank you to infinite intelligence all the time. When someone yields to me in traffic, or when my next door neighbor brushes the snow off my car, or when my wife brings me my morning coffee, or when I knocked the glass off the counter and spilled water and then got down on my knees to wipe it up, and there I discovered something under the cabinet that I had lost a few weeks ago and had not found. So here again, the steps to becoming or to learning how to live an exalted life. The steps to learn how to live an exalted life. 1, realize that you have been trained and conditioned to behave in ways that seek approval from those around you, even if that is not who you really are. 2, remind yourself that you are an individualized expression of infinite intelligence. You are not the property or the pet of those around you who exert influence over you by granting approval or by punishing you with disapproval. 3, practice self-observation. Take a step outside of yourself and begin to observe yourself and your behavior when you act for the sake of approval and not necessarily because it's something you want to do. 4, free your mind. Take these steps to separate yourself and your mind from stress-inducing elements in your life, like meditating or tending the garden or contemplating. Take a daily break to meditate in some way, some form of meditation. And 5, practice gratitude. Acknowledge the gifts you are receiving and where they're coming from. And all that comes from infinite intelligence, because infinite intelligence is all there is. Finally, accept and express your power and privilege and responsibility as a spiritual warrior. Spiritual warriors, we are here to change the world. We have a responsibility to be who we are, to express our fully as possible our spiritual warriorness. Yes, we are spiritual warriors. The world needs us because our power is to change the world. But we'll talk about that in our next episode. In the meantime, let's close with prayer. Thank you, Infinite Intelligence, for bringing all of us together in this life so we may become spiritual warriors and join in the work we have come here to do. Thank you, Infinite Intelligence, for bringing us into this space of awareness and a deeper understanding of ourselves and our relationship to life and infinite intelligence. Thank you for showing us who we really are. We open our minds and hearts to the truth of our being. We are the children of God. We are individualized expressions of infinite intelligence. And because we are part of the greater whole, we're beginning to understand our value to the continuity of life on this planet. As we become channels of your power, infinite intelligence, we can feel your presence within ourselves and within our lives more and more. We know that as we feel your presence within our lives every day, we will rise, because we are no longer cut off from you by being immersed in the darkness of fear, anger, and the pain of unforgiveness. So we're now restoring our connection through the grace of forgiveness, knowing that as we learn to forgive ourselves for the pain we have caused to ourselves, and as we learn to forgive those who have inflicted pain upon us, our connections will grow stronger, and our lives will grow happier and healthier and more prosperous. And for this we are truly grateful. As above, so below. As within, so without. And so it is. Amen. Thank you for watching. Remember, please click on the thumbs up button below, and if you haven't already done so, please choose to subscribe. And I'd love to hear from you, so please choose to state your comments and questions and suggestions in the comment section below the video. And I'd appreciate your support greatly. So if you would go to my website, bozemandevelopment.com, and click on the Please Donate button, I'd really appreciate that. In the meantime, I look forward to seeing you soon. My name is Reverend Andrew Bozeman, and this is On the Wings of Your Mind.